So let's talk about molds. Not the kind that recently infested my upstairs bathroom after the toilet secretly leaked into the ceiling of the garage for who knows how long, but the kind in which you make dice, which are much prettier and don't require home insurance to get involved unless you're doing it really, really wrongly. Um, so this is the first set I made the other day. It turned out great, looks good. The dice that's come out of it so far look awesome. I made that with these adjustable mold housing I got from Nick Pro, which was just on Amazon. I think it was around 20 bucks. Really easy. It has all these little parts in them that you can adjust the size and then just put the alligator clips in them, and it's good to go. There's not any real leaks or anything like that. However, it does leave a little bit to be desired as far as like all these extra corners and all this extra silicone that isn't. It's just kind of wasted space. So I decided to try my hand at making my own. I've seen a lot of different things online. I've seen some 3D printed ones that looked really cool, but I was like, I wonder if I could do this on the cheap. And so I have seen some PVC molds, and so I'm trying my hand at that, but making it a little bit differently. The ones I've seen people using, they fill them up, and once it's cured, they flip them over, and then they tape up the sides to just build up the wall, and then they fill the silicone on the other side to get the faces of the die. I'm not a huge fan of that, so I decided to make mine to where they would separate out. You could flip the mold upside down, put them back together, and then fill it that way, so you have a nice even sides on it. So anyway, all I did was I took got 3 of these little silicone junctions. I'm not actually sure what, and they're not silicone, they're PVC. You know what I mean. It's a material. It's been a long week. But I ran them through my bandsaw to cut them in half-ish. And then I got these pipe clamps that I just put around, tightened them up with my drill, made little marks on the sides so I knew which were the matching sides. And I'm going to try to make some molds with them. So we'll see how that goes. First off, I am going to try to go for a large mold that'll take all of my regular 7 die and my D2 coin, because I'd like to have that mold as a set so I can get the whole thing going. Because once I really start selling branded sets, I want them to have be 8 pieces. So just so I can see what the layout is, I'm putting my biggest one down here. I'm gonna just trace around it with a Sharpie, and then I'm going to just lay out my dice masters and see if I can get them all to fit with a little bit of room to spare. So let's put that coin in the middle, and we've got my D20. It'll be face down, high faces down on there. D6, D4, they're all the same face basically. So that. And D8, D12, D percentile, and my D10. And those all fit. Actually, there's a lot of room. I'm kind of wondering if I could do my death save die in here as well and make this kind of a luxury set. 8 pieces plus a death save die. And oh yeah, that's a good fit. Okay, so I think that's what I'm going to do with that, is make this into a 9-piece mold, with D2 through D20 and a death save die. which if I don't know if you guys have seen those, but they've got little hearts for if you pass, skulls if you fail, a tombstone if you roll a what would be a nat 1, and a potion bottle if you roll a nat 20. So yeah, I think that'll work for there. Next up, I want to see what just an 8-piece would look like, and if I could get it in the smaller one. So we'll do the same thing and trace around this. And we will just put this in the middle again. These around the outside, on the outside, around the outside. Sorry, I'm an 80s kid and 90s kind of kid. Actually, I don't know what era that's from. Somebody can tell me in the comments. But yeah, that looks like I can get a full, just a regular 8-piece set in this middle mold. So that's great. That means I can have a deluxe mold and a standard mold. And then I'm going to see if this will fit my chonk. So once again, into the breach, dear friends, with my Sharpie. So, you know, it's less dangerous breach than the poem was talking about. But I mean, I'm sure you could choke on it or something. I don't know. Are Sharpies that dangerous? Maybe if you inhale too much of them. So don't try that at home, kids. And let's see if that fits. Ooh, it does. That is a perfect fit. It'd actually probably be a bit smaller. So here's my old chonk mold that I got from Nano Labs, who they're fantastic. If you don't want to go through the hassle of making your own molds, look them up, and they do good work, good turnaround time, great quality molds. I've gotten lots of castings out of them, although this one's pretty much done at this point with these tear outs here. But anyway, for comparison, so it's a little bit larger than this one, although this is the same size of the chonk die I've been getting out of here. But I am not going to sweat a little bit of extra space. So, awesome. So now I know the layouts that I'm going to use for these different molds. And I think what I'm going to do first, since I already have, well, I have the standard, but it doesn't have the D2 in it. So I think I am going to do standard mold tonight and tomorrow, and this for the chonk mold. And then sometime in the next few days, I'll do a deluxe mold that has the death save die in it. So the first step in making some dice molds, after you have the housings, is to tape off the bottom so that the silicone doesn't escape. Some people use packing tape. I saw somebody, I wish I could remember who, so I could give them a shout out, suggest contact paper. And you can get a roll of it for real cheap. And this will probably last me an entire lifetime making molds, unless I somehow make a dice empire, which, you know, wouldn't hate that, I guess, but I'd have to hire a lot of people. Anyway, so yeah, I've got the standard size mold on there. Thankfully, this glass is actually a cutting board. Who I think it was Artemis Dice Co. They use a glass cutting board for polishing your dice because you need a good flat surface. Great thing is, since it's a cutting board, I can take this and just go like this, and there we go. And that's cut out for that one, and that one there. We'll go ahead and cut that there, and cut that there, and oops, and there we go. And then put this off to the side, and we just peel the backing off, sticky side up, and we take our mold, kind of press it down on there so that it sticks somewhat. Not sure that the mold itself is sticking all that well, but that is why I have a hot glue gun. And I'll just go around the outside and seal it up with hot glue. So that way the resin won't leak out the side. Stick it in here. Give a little extra in places. I'm realizing now that I should have cut the PVC on my chop saw just to give it a nice flat bottom. Because after I cut it with the bandsaw, I ran it through my belt sander to kind of get rid of as much of the interior as possible, using the edge of it. Unfortunately, like, it was a little too wide for this one, although it got this one in the larger, the deluxe size, pretty smooth. Anyway, so we got that all nice and sealed up. Hopefully, we'll let that solidify here for a second, and then we'll just go around the outside a little with a pair of scissors just to clear off this excess bit. Then next up, I'm going to put on some nitrile gloves. Not because I'm ready to handle the silicone yet, because I'm not. But I'm about to put dice in here, and dice pick up fingerprints really easily. And believe it or not, fingerprints will transfer to silicone because that stuff just picks up all the details. So what I like to do is I take a little microfiber cloth and I take the master die, give it a good kind of last second polish, get rid of any fingerprints that might be on there, kind of visually inspect it, make sure there's nothing showing. It looks pretty good. Okay, and then I will take this and put it, realizing I'm not enough room for my fingers. Ugh. Okay, so that is not the D20. Nope, that's the D14. So let's redo that. For the contact paper, you can pull it back up a couple times. Maybe. Come on. We don't want the D14 as the high face. There it is. Maybe this is the way to do it. Just kind of blunk. Okay. That is pretty well centered. We will, yeah, that's good. We'll leave that there for now. And we'll fill that with silicone here in just a bit. In the meantime, let's move on to this bigger one. So I'm realizing that putting these dice down in there are going to be really difficult. So got some chopsticks, and we will use those. So like I did before, just a last polish, and grab my chopsticks. Well, this might not have been the best one for this first try, but we'll just put it in kind of sideways there. There we go. That works. They don't have to be perfectly symmetrical, as long as they're in there. All right, so So I quickly realized that polished wooden sticks don't hold polished plastic dice very well. Might try or maybe dipping the ends of this in silicone and just to give it a rubberized tip, because I still think this could work. I just this needs to be like rubberized somehow. Anyway, got them in there. I think they'll do okay. I also realized that when I was measuring the circles before, I should have traced around the inside of the thing rather than the outside, because it definitely a little smaller than I was anticipating. But I think we will be okay. Yeah. So I need to go ahead and put on my respirator since I'm about to deal with some silicone. So we're going to switch to voiceover for the rest of this video, starting in 3, 2, and 1.
So just like the resin, the silicone that I'm using for these molds is a two-part silicone, equal parts in volume. And yeah, just kind of emptying out these bottles. There wasn't a whole lot left. I probably still used a little bit more than I needed to, but yeah, there's not as much silicone in these things as there are in my resin bottles. So next up is mixing the silicone together, which I've got this little hand mixer. And let me tell you, this thing, it feels pretty flimsy, but it worked. Which, let me tell you, the silicone is thick with all of the C's. But yeah, it got it thoroughly mixed, and I just went back in with the tongue depressor to kind of scrape down the sides and bottom, make sure I didn't miss anything. But yeah, the thing worked like a dream. So one of these days, I will learn how to have everything in frame when I'm starting to record. I need to get some sort of a separate monitor that I can look at to make sure everything is in view of my my phone. But anyway, this is not how you should pour silicone. This was my second time doing it, and I kind of, yeah, just forgot all the things I'd learned. You should pour it in a slow stream on one particular point. Just let it slowly fill up, so that you don't trap any air bubbles or anything like that. I'm hoping this will still turn out okay. I guess we'll find out. The last set did. It degasses itself really well, so I didn't run this through my vacuum chamber, although that is a thing you could do, but there's much less working time with silicone. So so hopefully this turns out. I guess we'll find out at the end of the video. So after filling them up, I let the molds sit for a few minutes to just kind of self-degas. You can kind of see some of the bubbles rising to the surface and popping. And then I put them in my pressure pot for 4 hours, or overnight in my case, because it was getting pretty late at this point and I wasn't going to be up to take them out.
Okay, so it's been a few hours since I put these in the pressure pot. They look like they're pretty clear. Don't see any bubbles on the surface there. So I'm going to take the clamps off and pop them open, and take the tape off and flip it over. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that in a different order. I'm going to do this first. The tape off. Maybe. Come on. Seems to be sticking to the... Oh, there it goes. Okay. All right. And now do a loosen that up. leaves off. A little bit of leakage, but not too bad. And then we just pop this apart. We should have a nice round half mold. Still got to put the caps on them. But yeah, look at that. Got some real good impressions in there. So I got to clean this up a little bit. Then we'll stick the mold halves back together with this in the center. Fill the outside, or turn it like this, and top it off with some more silicone. Put it in the pressure pot for another 4 hours, and then we should have a completed mold. But yeah, you can see like the dice looks like I didn't have any little overlap, maybe a little bit there. That'll need to be cleaned off. But yeah, got to do a little cleaning, and then we'll make the caps for these. So let me do this other one real quick. Pop that apart. Okay. Oh yeah, that was, well, okay. I'd say that was way deeper than I needed, but that's still, I can kind of see through the end of it that the bottom of the die is around here, so that's not bad. But come on, buddy, come on out of this thing. So yeah, for next time, definitely want to put some Vaseline or talcum powder on the inside of these housings, just to prevent some extra sticking. Okay, so that's out. Now I'm gonna grab my, where did it go? It wasn't here. This is just a little cuticle trimmer that I hit the outside of this with. Kind of trim it up. And now that I've got the edges cleaned up, go ahead and cut some keys into these, some little reference points. So once I have the cap mold, I'll know how to put it on correctly for each of these things. Ordinarily, I would just do like a little embed things like I did with my other mold, but there just wasn't room to put those on there. So I'm just gonna cut them out, and that will be that. So next up, I'm just taking a little microfiber cloth and re-polishing these dice faces to get off some of the little sticky residue from the contact paper, but not too big of a deal. And then what we're going to do next is we have to cover the silicone with something that will prevent the silicone I'm going to pour on top from sticking to it. Usually like Vaseline or talcum powder. I used Vaseline on the last one, so I think I'm going to try, actually, you know, I might stick with the Vaseline, just because I know that works. And for something a little less important, we can try the talcum powder, but might as well stick with the date you brought to the party. All right. So next step, take a little Q-tip, a little, I guess it's actually Equate Petroleum Jelly, not the name brand. Hashtag not a sponsored post. And we will just very carefully kind of put this all over it except for on the dice faces. 'Cause definitely don't want to obscure the numbers at all. So hey, it is time for another, well, real quick, and we got to make sure to get some Vaseline down in the keys for sure, because you do not want those sticking. So when the resin or the silicone's poured on top, that'll fill in those gaps, and then you'll have perfectly matched keys all the way around, so that when you are pouring dice, you got to put the two halves together in the orientation they should be, just by lining up the keys. So. Okay, now that I've protected the surfaces, I'm going to go over again, check for any places where the petroleum jelly might have kind of gotten on the dice face, and just wipe it off very carefully. Okay, now that we've got the surfaces of the molds covered with some Vaseline to keep the caps from sticking, and we want to put it back into the mold. And they're flipped over this time, so that once I close it up, I just pour it on top. I don't have to make a little tape enclosure or anything like that. Before I put it back in, though, I kind of want to put a little bit of Vaseline just around the inside of this, so it doesn't stick on the sides as well. So I'll just use my finger for that, and just kind of do this right here. So now we just take the mold and we pop the sides back together again. Come on. And now I'm realizing that that is going to be a little bit of an issue. But I think with this ring on here, it will, as long as I pull it tight enough, it'll be fine. And I'll just have to go in there maybe with my Dremel or something like that a little bit later and clean the rest of that out, so I don't have this in problem future molds. But you know, that's part of the learning process when you're trying to figure things out and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, and I still don't understand why we still have flathead screws for anything. It is such an annoyance to to get these things lined up, and then all right. There's that one, and this one right here. I'm realizing for this one that I could probably shave a good, I don't know, 1.5 inches off of that. So that is also something that'll be easy enough to do. I'll just run it through my chop saw, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to finish this thing up. Okay, so now I'm going to repeat the process from earlier of just mixing up some new silicone, pouring it over the top, putting it back in the pressure pot for another 4 or 5 hours, and then we'll see what we get. Okay, so molds are out of the pressure pot. We're going to see how these lids turned out here. Hopefully everything turned out well. So go ahead and loosen that, and loosen that, pull that off, pull this off, and oh good, that came away much easier with the petroleum jelly on the side. Pull this out. Okay, we got good separation. Oh, that is not a key, that's just silicone that came outside. There's another key, third key. Hey, look at that. A little thin, but I think it'll still probably work. I guess we'll find out once we test it. Well, let's try the other one real quick. Okay, once again, coming away really easily. Okay, much thicker, better mold. Got a really good impressions there. Let's see if it's come out any easier. All right. So D2 looks like we've got a good impression there. Again, very good impressions. Really like Claret Components Master Dice. They have nice deep numbers on them. So, you know, when you're polishing them, you don't have to worry about accidentally polishing them too much and making the numbers shallow. And yeah, you always have good defined things here. And lastly, let's get this D20 out. Come on. You can do it, buddy. D20. And it looks like we've got some good numbers in there as well. So I think that this is a fairly successful set. I need to do some cleanup, obviously, but overall, I'm pleased with that. Now, if I can get this chonk out, I'd really like to. This silicone is ridiculous, guys. It is so thick. So I just kind of trying to still be gentle with it. I don't want to tear it, but this does not want to come out. This might not have the flexibility. Might need to recast it with some softer silicone, because this does not want to come out. Come on, buddy. You can do it. It's not going to come out. Don't you want to get out of your hole? All right, where's this guy? All right, so we're just gonna cut on the side. Hopefully not scratch up the master. And pull that apart. Okay. Okay, so, oh no, cut right through a number. I don't think, guys, I don't think this is gonna work, unfortunately. I'm gonna need to recast that. Well, yeah, or else the 2 is just gonna be real wonky on each of them. Otherwise, the numbers look great. It's just, all right, well, you live with it, you learn. Otherwise, I think this worked. It's just, I don't think this is the right kind of silicone. It's a little too heavy for something like this. So hopefully the stuff I use for the lids may be the perfect stuff, because this seems much more soft and forgiving. So we'll try it again. But yeah, we did get one good set for like all of my main dies and the D2, so that's good. So yeah, I'll try another casting of this one at the same time I do like the deluxe set that's gonna have the 8 plus the death save die. Hey y'all, so this is kind of an addendum to the end of this video. This is a couple days after I shot that. I kind of came to the realization that I have seen split dice molds before, where that's just taped up with some painter's tape and you cast as normal and then remove the painter's tape and peel it open to get the dice out. So yeah, I don't know if this will work or not. This side is, the cut is right through the facets, or between two facets, so maybe that'll be okay. This one is right through the number 2, so I'm not as confident about that, but it's worth a shot. I'm still going to make a new Chonk dice mold with the softer silicone, see if that makes the demolding easier. But you know, why throw this out when it could be perfectly good? So we're gonna give it a shot. I'll report back in a future video how it turned out. But yeah, just take the opportunity to learn from mistakes, and maybe they're not mistakes after all. So you never know. So yeah, go out there, play some more games, make some more things, and build some more community. And we'll see you all again soon.